Welcome. Thanks for tuning in today. This is Yaz.life and my name is Yaz. This is the fifth part of the Voices in Your Head series of videos. Links to the previous parts are in the description below. I do recommend you watch them, as you may find this video difficult to keep up with if you haven't. The Voices in Your Head series has its own dedicated playlist on the channel where you can find all other related videos. Now let's look at a summary of what we've covered in the last few videos. We've looked at which situations the knowledge of ego states and everything that you are learning in these videos can support you in your everyday life, in everyday practical situations. We've looked at what ego states look like and how they work. We've then looked at relating this knowledge to your upbringing, specifically your upbringing, and then observing yourself and others relating to thoughts, feelings and behaviours, specifically in relation to triggers and responses. We then went on to a breakdown of the critical parent, nurturing parent and rebellious child ego states. Now before we get stuck right in, a reminder, as I always have done in all my videos, and they are 2 points that I'd like you to bear in mind throughout all of these videos, and actually any video I'm ever going to do, and they are: no state of mind is good or bad. They will either be helpful to you in particular situations or unhelpful. This knowledge is not designed to bring about judgment on yourself or others. If you are using this knowledge to start pointing your finger at other people, then you are a villain, and we don't want villains. We want, what do we want? Superheroes. That's right. The second point, the examples we are going to use are what the extremes would look like. Okay, so when I'm covering examples in this video, they are the polarities of such behaviours. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm covering the 10s. You will see versions of this behaviour on a scale of 1 to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think you get my drift. The voices. Let's put a face to the name. Adapted child, as per the second word in the two-word name. It is part of the child state of mind. When moved into, will be you when you were a child growing up. You are not going to start acting like something out of a Hollywood movie or a particular character that you might have read of. You are going to act how you did when you were a child. Which means if you did not adapt in your childhood, now look, we've all adapted, but if you had a critical parent in your childhood, then you would most likely have an adapted child that you will move into, especially if it was in the younger parts of your years. Okay, the latter part of your years, if you had a critical parent, there's a chance that you've got a strong rebellious child state of mind as well as an adapted child. This state of mind usually relates to ages between 8 and up, around 19, depending on your particular upbringing, and it can be earlier or later in years if your upbringing was rather challenging. As you can see, the child state is below the parent and adult, as I discussed in the last video in quite detail. But to add to that, the adapted child state, as you can see, is also below the rebellious child and the free child. It's right at the bottom of absolutely everything. This is because out of the other child states of mind, adapted child is the most passive. Hence, in a more victim position from the drama triangle and passive from behaviour types. Now, in order to recognise which state of mind you are working with, you need to take into account body language, tone of voice, and message. Adapted child's body language is submissive, head down, inability to look you in the eyes, arms down by their sides, fearful and extremely apprehensive. Adapted child's tone of voice would be quiet, at times inaudible, fearful and rather apprehensive. An adapted child's message. They will use words and statements that are apologetic or even justifying. They typically use words like sorry, and when justifying will include the word I. Statements such as, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. I promise I won't do it again. Please give me another chance to make it up to you. I did everything you asked me to do. I hope it's okay, and if not, please just tell me and I'll fix it right away. I don't think I'm good enough. This kind of thing just keeps happening to me. Maybe I just don't deserve to be happy. I really don't mind. I'm more than happy to do whatever everyone else or anyone else wants to do. I'm okay. I don't have a preference. Now, adapted child in villain mode. At their worst, they can be extremely passive or passive aggressive. When passive, they can be extremely apologetic and without opinion or preference due to a fear of being unaccepted and a lack of sense of self. They've spent so long trying to please others that they don't even know what they like or how they feel about particular aspects or experiences in their lives or anybody else's life. They can be perceived as boring and monotonous by others, especially free child and rebellious child. When passive-aggressive, they can make passively sarcastic remarks. They can become rather ambiguous and be inconspicuous about their thoughts and their feelings. And so you never quite know what an adapted child is thinking or feeling. To be honest, they don't even quite know what they're thinking or feeling. They tend to spend a lot of their time and energy in the rescuer position, as per the drama triangle. They are running around fixing, saving and being there for others. But when or if their offering is rejected or turned down, or if others are not there for them, then at the payoff, they will move into the victim position, which can then lead to self-criticism and a sense of powerlessness due to a lack of sense of self. They will then question themselves and seriously think that they cannot function in a healthy way in most of their lives. Adapted child in superhero mode. Well, adapted child has a number of skills that when truly mastered can make them award-winning geniuses at the best of times. They are timely. They are timely in their attendance. They are timely in completion of tasks, projects, or just expectations of themselves in both a personal and professional capacity. They are superb followers of rules and are very reliable, making them the perfect teammate, the perfect team member, or even people manager, only if, trained in assertiveness skills. Jobs they would excel at include accountants, auditors, assessors, lawyers, and even teachers, to name only but a few. You can see the common thread throughout those jobs, right? They are great at standing up for other people, okay, not their own, but for other people's rights in order to ensure justice prevails, especially as they are superb followers and knowers of rules. They would make reliable and trustworthy friends, beautifully loving and empathic partners. They are loyal and very giving of their energy, their time and gifts. Yes, gifts. Do these characteristics remind you of anyone you know? Did you have an adapted child in your upbringing? One of your caregivers? A friend? Or a family member, or even somebody at work? How do you feel when you are around these individuals? How do you behave? Are you an adapted child? Do you like being in their company, or do you prefer not being around them? So the adapted child state of mind, as others, works well with some but can clash quite profusely with others. Best buddies. Again, a little bit tricky with this because it really does depend on whether the situation they are in is more professional or personal, because it can have quite a big difference. If I had to choose one, the ideal state of mind for adapted child to be around would probably be nurturing parent with an adult message. This gives the adapted child the gentle and patient approach that they need so that they can come out of their shell and actually learn to be themselves and to have their own thoughts and feelings. And then the adult message would give them the ability to learn to be more assertive with others, empower themselves, resulting in more self-belief and more achieving of their own goals. An overall healthier sense of self, healthier way of being. Arch enemies. This one's really easy. It's straightforward. Adapted child's nemesis would be rebellious child. Why? They have in each other what they despise, yet crave the most. Adapted child wishes they didn't care about the rules as much as they do. And rebellious child wishes they could just follow the rules, just sometimes, just a little bit, in order for them to get what they want from situations in their lives. Rebellious child can stand up to others and say how they feel, whereas adapted child doesn't even know how they're feeling, let alone entertain the idea of standing up for themselves. They both prefer to be as far away from each other as possible, interacting only if needs mean they must. Effective interaction. If you need to communicate effectively with an adapted child, then the most helpful state of mind will be the nurturing parent with an adult message. I know, it's repeated. Just as with best buddies, again, this would give the adapted child an effective interaction, one that would be really, really beneficial to them. The gentle and patient approach from the nurturing parent gives them the ability to come out and no longer be fearful or apprehensive, and the adult message will give them the ability to learn to start to be grounded, learn to start to be mindful, learn to start to get to know themselves and actually build a healthier sense of self. In small doses. Okay, so adapted child and free child. Why? Because adapted child needs to be around a free child sometimes in order for them to just watch how the other half lives. They can see what it looks like to just chill out and not give a damn about the consequences of chilling out or everything that needs to be done or hasn't been done. They can just see what it looks like to have some fun and sometimes even break the rules a little bit, just a little bit. And notice that the world doesn't come to an abrupt end having done so. Obviously, in the long term, the adapted child will become annoyed with the free child for not being responsible, for not planning for tomorrow, and not having any solid goals or even aspirations of achieving things in life. Finishing up, answer as many of the questions asked throughout this video and use them to determine whether you have any adapted children in your environment from your past or even in your present. Whether you think you may be an adapted child, and then use this information to observe and gather data. It's all about the data, it's all about the knowledge, it's all about the reflection, and it's all about the awareness. Start to become mindful. I have briefly mentioned using cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT, in my last few videos. You would use this method to gather data when you have a sudden shift in mood. Then you are looking at making notes of your thoughts, your feelings, and consequentially, any behaviours that you have noticed. When gathering this data, it is also important to observe and make a note of what ego state you were in prior to your shift in mood, and then which state you moved into during or after the experience had taken place. As always, if you have any questions, any opinions, or your own experiences that you would like to share, please do pop them in the comments section below. I, as always, would love to hear from you. And remember, sharing is caring, right? If you have any topics you would like me to cover, again, drop them in the comments below and I'll do my best to get those covered as soon as possible. Part 6 of the Voices in Your Head series will be coming soon, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and you're not missing out. Thank you again for watching, and please do share and like this video so we can pass this invaluable knowledge on to others, especially to those we love. And finally, remember, be a superhero, not a villain.